So welcome to this next lesson. In this lesson we'll be treating naming of organisms, also known as nomenclature. So first, what is nomenclature? Nomenclature refers to a system of naming organisms scientifically. So when you hear the word nomenclature, it talks about naming organisms. But sometimes it might not necessarily be linking to just organisms, but it's a word that is used to talk about naming. So this system is essential for clear and universal communication in biology, and it helps to eliminate the confusion that can arise from common names. It is governed by internationally recognized codes that maintain uniformity and stability. So this nomenclature is generally called binomial nomenclature. So this binomial system of nomenclature was introduced by Carl Linnaeus in the 18th century, and this system, each organism is assigned two-part names. So I mentioned this in one of our lessons previously, where you would give living organism name based on their genus and also their species. So this name is seen in organisms like Homo sapiens, which is referring to humans, where Homo is their genus name and Sapiens is their species name. So when you see these organisms being named according to binomial nomenclature, there is always a lettering format. That's the way you write the letter. The first name, which is the genus name, the first letter is always written in capital letter, while the second name, which is representing the species letter, is usually written in small letter. It's all small letter. For the genus name, the first letter is capitalized, while for the species name, all letters are in small letters. So now, scientific names are always italicized. They are always in slanted form. That's what I mean by italicized. And they are sometimes, in some other cases, they are underlined when they are written with hand. So when you are typing the binomial nomenclature of any organism, be it plant or animal, the name, so long as you're typing it, would be italicized, that is, be written in slanted form. So, but if you're writing it with hand, you would underline, wherever you write that binomial nomenclature, you would underline the name of that organism. So the genus name begins with capital letter, which I just mentioned, and also the species name is always written with lowercase throughout. So this formatting rule helps to distinguish scientific names from other texts. So there are specific codes that govern the naming of organisms, including International Code of Botanical Nomenclature. So this is called ICBN. Another code that is used to govern this nomenclature is also known as the International Code of Zoological Nomenclature. So the first one is for plants, while the second one is for animals. And also we also have the International Code of Nomenclature of Bacteria. So this one is used for naming bacteria and some microorganisms. So these codes, they provide guidelines for naming organisms within their domains. So synonyms in nomenclature occur when more than one name exists for the same species due to historical naming. So when you will see organisms having similar names is when the organism probably have had similar names, when it had similar names previously in the past. Maybe they've given an organism a particular name and they gave another organism that similar, or they give another organism now currently a new name. So these organisms now, due to the prehistoric naming, it can have similarity in their naming. So the principle for priority is applied to resolve this kind of issue when you have issue of synonymous naming. So the rule that is used to resolve this issue is called the principle of priority. So it is applied to resolve such issues, giving precedence to the earliest valid published name. So the organism that was given the name first would be assigned that particular name. Then the other one will be found, another name will be found for the other organism that happen to be given the same name. So let's move on. Infraspecific names are used when there is a need for identifying variation within species. So when you have a particular species, and this species, they also have different types. So we said we name in binomial nomenclature based on genus and species. After we've named an organism based on its genus, we also name the organism based on its species. So now when there's also a difference between organisms based on their species, we use infraspecific naming to distinguish these organisms based on their differences in species. So these names include stuff like subspecies, varieties, and forms, and they include the third part of the scientific name of organisms. So usually we said, according to binomial nomenclature, we always have two parts of naming: the genus part and the species part. So but when organisms now have different species but the same genus, we use these kind of names, the infraspecific names, to resolve that issue, and it will cause the organism to have a third name. So for example, stuff like Brassicsa orela var, or var capital, sorry, it's used to represent cabbage. So in this kind of naming, you see that it has more than just two names. It's not using just normal binomial nomenclature. Now it has more than that, because we have different species having the same Brassicsa oleracea. So there are several other species under Brassicsa oleracea. So these differences in species is what is responsible for a third name and sometimes even a fourth name. So in conclusion, nomenclature ensures that every organism has a unique and universally accepted name, and this system of naming is based on Latin names and is governed by international codes, as I mentioned, the three international codes which we need to memorize, and it supports accurate identification, classification, and global scientific communication. So that will be all for this lesson, and I'll be saying bye.